Live from the Talking Joe studios,
it's Talking Joe with Chief and Chris. Hey, it's me, the Chief, joined by my buddy as always,
Diagnostic AT, Christopher McLeod. I always have to do it as a song now. Everything on this bloody show is a song. Yeah. Yes, I'm good, man. How are you doing?
I'll start off now. I am tired because I had to kind of semi-coordinate a software release. Yeah, semi-release. And there was no hardware release, it was just software.
There's going to be so many cartoon boings going on.
But anyway, with the company I work for in the vetting industry, we were releasing some software into our live product, and that required me, the people who normally do it, help to coordinate it. We're both off at the same time, so I got drafted in last minute, don't know what I'm doing, basically had to sit on a call overnight from 10:30 p.m. till about 3 a.m. This morning. It all went fine, but then I had to get up at 6 to take my kid to nursery, and I couldn't go back to sleep, so I'm functioning on 3 hours here. So
that's gross.
Be prepared for lots of chief mess ups and foul ups and falling off my stools. Well, I'm actually sitting on a beanbag today, so falling off the beanbag.
Sitting on your ball bag. I think I'm expecting like halfway through my Chris Talks Toys to hear snoring going on.
Well, you say that, and the last two people that were on this overnight call, one of them fell asleep from 10:30 till midnight, and people were pinging him and he wasn't answering. Another one fell asleep from 11 till 4 a.m. He woke up at 4. The call was all wrapped up by 3, and he just found himself asleep in his chair with the only one left on the hangout call.
That's
so
brilliant.
I didn't do that.
That's brilliant.
But anyway,
what a gross thing to have to do.
I claimed it back today, so I only started work at sort of midday today, but not ideal. But anyway, the other thing that I have been doing is I watched some movies. 3 days in a row. Last week I watched John Wick Chapter 2, John Wick Chapter 3.
Nice.
You've seen these movies?
I've seen 1 and 2. I don't think I've seen 3 yet.
Okay. Now, I've got some opinions here.
Okay.
I think I like them, but I'm not sure. I'm not a massive fan of super violence, and I think what these movies do well is 80s and 90s, you had a lot of, action-heavy movies.
Yeah.
And then you got that phase kind of starting, and again, I'm quite naive on this subject, but for Westerners, and this was probably going on a lot in Asia way before this, but we had Ang Lee's Hidden Dragon, Crouching Monkey, whatever it's called.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
That's what I said, yeah. Then when that came over, that was all kind of this balletic kind of
love that bloody
heavily
movie
choreographed
so
fight scenes. It was like a dance almost.
Yeah.
And, like I say, I'm sure that was going on a lot in Asia anyway, and then we got a lot more of this heavily choreographed fight scenes. But what John Wick manages to do, it does manage to kind of bring those two things together. And what I was finding was a lot of those heavily choreographed, almost dance fight movies weren't exceptionally violent. It'd end with like a kick to the head and the guy would go down or whatever.
Yeah.
They weren't heavy. But this is that, but with John Wick effectively shooting guys point. All he does in the whole movie is reload, shoot guys point blank in the face, and he does a judo throw every 30 seconds. And it's married those two things together, which I don't think I've seen elsewhere, and is very, very stylish. Is it style over substance? I'm not sure, but I was a little bit disgusted with the level of gratuitous violence and blood splashing and the way it kind of glorified it all. And I don't know, but I can appreciate the filmmaking. But the content, I honestly don't know. I'm on the fence. I'm either going to give it like a 2 out of 10 or like a 7 out of 10. I'll probably stick in the middle of like a 5 in the 10. 5.5 out of 10, I guess, is midpoint maybe. But I don't know.
No, I see what you're saying. Like there's a if you're either kind of able to watch that stuff or you're not really. I think there's like especially with that kind of the hyper violence. If you're watching it and you're kind of like cheering along with it and loving every second of it and to it, then obviously there's a problem there. Yeah. But if you can watch it, see the situation of, oh my god, that's heavy, then but maybe appreciate, like you say, appreciate the other aspects of it, then I think you're fine. Like I don't see an issue with that. Like, and you're right. There's this amazing, like, it's almost like there's an originality to it. At the same time, we've seen it all before. With John Wick, they kind of did this thing, like you say, this amazing, like, really incredible choreographed fight scenes that involve locks and rolls and flips, and but at the same time he's using his weapons. There was a movie called Equilibrium. Do you remember that with
with Christian Bale?
With Bale, and there was that whole thing of, it was almost like martial arts with guns. That was the premise, and John Wick has taken that to the next bloody level.
Yeah,
I remember vividly, and if you haven't seen the first John Wick movie, I apologise, but it's right at the beginning anyway. When he loses his dog, that I was just like, I was out. I was like, oh man, that sucks. But then, he is just such a bad. It's so satisfying to watch him go on this murderous rampage because of losing his dog. Yeah. And it's just I kind of think, oh yeah, I'd probably do exactly the same thing if I had A, the ability, and B, the facility of John Wick.
Almost. Yeah. I mean, I tried to sort of, and it got me thinking in that, for me, it was probably too much. Yeah. But then I was thinking, well, wait a minute, I've just played Halo and Gears of War, and I'm chopping guys up with a chainsaw, and there's blood everywhere. So why am I okay with that, but I'm not okay with cinema-heavy, gratuitous violence? And I think part of it is because I don't like Call of Duty games, because I don't like like you said, I don't like the realism of it. Yeah. I've got a gun and I'm shooting other human beings, where at least in Halo and Gears of War I'm chopping up aliens. Sure. And it kind of gives me that level of separation.
I think that's what video games manage to do, and what a lot of people feel is like, is a doorway to violence or something, which is ridiculous. It kind of does, it gives you the opportunity to kind of vent that, or kind of play those weird games kind of like without any connotation, or like you don't have to worry about any of the issues that surround that stuff, and that's a good thing in a sense. It's almost like, you can just go nuts on a bunch of aliens that don't exist, whatever. But
I've just started picking up Horizon Zero Dawn, which I had bought it last year, the complete game after 6 months or a year after it came out. It's kind of an open worldy, post-apocalyptic kind of futuristic kind of game, and I played it for a long time, about 20 hours, and that's probably not long nowadays for most people, but put it down. It's a bit too, I don't like too much open world. I kind of like linear games that are directing me down a path, but I was fancied something different along the Gears of War Halo. I thought, I'll give that another crack, and I picked it up at the weekend, and I put another probably 10 hours in over the weekend. I'm really enjoying it. But on that, you get to fight bandits and stuff, but much more satisfying is when you're taking down these mechanized creatures, cracking on with that. What about you? What have you been up to?
I've also been watching a lot of films. I just happened to be we ended up getting the HBO add-on on Hulu because it was we wanted to see, I can't remember what film. Kate wanted to see Crazy Rich Asians again, and I kind of wanted to watch it just to get a bead on Henry Golding, and it's actually quite a fun, cute movie, so it wasn't too bad in the end in that sense. But then having watched that and seeing like a couple of the films that were kind of knocking about on there, I was like, I'll probably just put that on in the background. I seen a few of them previously, but just thought, I'm going to just put it on in the background while I get on with some other stuff. So I ended up watching Rampage again, which is just a classic rock movie where he is like this, I don't know, I kind of love The Rock, but at the same time, all of his movies are rubbish. Do you know what I mean? It's like he has this funny way of making crap films, but still absolutely making you like love the crap out of him. It's really weird. But also, what was the other one I watched? Skyscraper, which was like it was terrible.
Is that where he's got one arm,
one leg?
Has he got one arm? Well, one leg.
One leg, yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah, so but again, love him to death, but my goodness, the movies are utter tripe. So you've been watching like hardcore violent John Wick movies, and I've been watching like family rock movies. It's hilarious.
Just rounding out, there's a film I didn't watch this week, and I mentioned this previously to you. Apocalypse Now, the final cut with the final edit. Yeah. My mate Parky, shout out to Parky. He said, "Oh, let's go and watch this limited release 40th anniversary. It's at the Central Picture House, which is kind of central London.
Clues in the name.
It's on at 7:15, and I looked it up, and it's like 3 hours, and then there was an hour kind of Q&A documentary afterwards. I was like, oh, it's not going to finish till like 11:30. It's going to take me an hour to get home, and I couldn't do it. So that was supposed to be tomorrow. So there you go. That's a film I didn't watch.
So instead of doing that till 3 a.m, you got on a call for work.
Yeah. Anyway, this will tie in as a segue to beverage for the show.
Beverage for the show. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Beverage for the show. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Now I am gonna go do-do and drink my beverage for the show.
So what I have here is, this may help me get out of my funk, because this is Mike
Kombucha.
Tyson.
Oh, right.
This is Mike Tyson Black.
Wow.
Wait a minute. No, I haven't given it its full title. Mike Tyson Black Energy.
I'm not sure which is worse. I'm not sure which is more racist.
So I think this is a brand called Black Energy, and then I think this is just a specialised Mike Tyson variant.
Never heard of it.
So
I've heard of Mike Tyson, but I've never heard of
it. It says the original premium. Oh, it says premium Mike Tyson collection. Here we go. Let's have a caffeine drink. Here we go. So this is let's have a glug on this. I don't know what I'm expecting. Maybe a Red Bull. I haven't had an energy drink for about 5 years. So
it'll probably punch you in the face.
Yeah, it's got that horrible kind of Red Bull taste. Yeah, that's what I expected. That kind of taurine. He's kind of
It smells
overly
like
sweet.
It smells like for like
smells
if you
like
smell it
kind
in
of
a certain way. Yeah,
smells like. Imagine if you've eaten like 3 kgs. I don't know what that is in poundage for the American listeners. 3 kgs like sweets, or as you would say, candy, and then you've taken a dump and it's like diarrhea, but orange. That's what it smells like.
Blimey.
Yeah. I'm going to have some more though. What you got?
So I'm going to thank my beautiful wife, Kate McLeod, for picking up a special drink for the show, because she realises how rubbish I am at getting these sorted out in time. So she said, I'm going to get you something from the shop while I'm out working, and then bring it. You can have it for your next recording. And I was like, oh, thank you very much. I said, surprise me. So she's got me, and she has surprised me, an organic Mama Chia strawberry lemonade chia beverage. Never had it before. It's full of bits. It looks amazing. So here we go. I'm going to open it first. It's in like a glass bottle. It's in a glass bottle. It's not like a glass bottle. It is a glass bottle, and it has a kind of one of those like Snapple type lids that, as you twist it, you should hear a pop.
Love those.
There we go. Let's open this, and it says inside that it's very much like Snapple, as it's got a little thing inside the lid, and it says, "Mama Chia, seed your soul. Gratitude is fun for the soul." So,
nice.
So I'm very grateful for my wife for doing this. So here we go. Oh, that's yummy. That is really not. Holy balls. Okay, so never had this before in my life. Didn't know what to expect. It looked like I was going to be drinking jam. Like, it just looks like, from the outside, it looks like strawberry jam with all the bits in it. And it is gorgeous. I'm going to need to take a picture of this before we go any further, because otherwise there's going to be nothing left in it when I take the actual picture. Go on.
So I have just found a site called the Caffeine Calculator, the Caffeine Informer. You put in what drink you've got. You put in what drink you've got and your weight, and it tells you how many cans you can drink per day until you die. So, as an example, let's put in Red Bull, just to give us a
one
standard. And
you can have one Red Bull.
Red Bull, my weight, 88 kgs. Calculate your limits. Your maximum is 6.6 cans per day. 165 cans of Red Bull is a lethal dose. So I'm not drinking 165 cans now. Let's put in Mike Tyson Black.
I wonder what you get if you put that into Google.
It's actually the same 165.5 cans. Although they haven't got Mike Tyson Black, they just got Black Energy. Yeah. So anyway, 100. If I drink another 164.5 of these, I'll be dead tomorrow. So fortunately, I'm not doing that. So I will be alive.
Can you afford to buy that many?
No. Moving on. quick shout out to Eric, aka Hillbilly Harper. He's contacted us and basically said, enjoying the show. He always comments on all the posts. He did have a question, though, which is, what is over-egging the pudding? Well, Hillbilly Harper, you may have missed one of the episodes then, because I think that we explained that. It's part of the title of our British colloquialisms segment, and that's the first one we did on the show, over-egging the pudding. Maybe we didn't explain it, I don't know.
No, you did explain it.
Did I? And that basically means kind of going overboard, would you say? Or
yeah, doing too much, overkill.
Doing too much. Yeah, overkill. Yeah, you've over-egged the pudding.
So if you put too much egg in the pudding, it ruins it, even though it's, you might think it's a good thing to do. I just made, actually, before the show, I made a orange, almond and courgette cake. Wow, that sounds gorgeous.
I'll take a picture, stick it up. I will not be posting you any, because after the last time the mug arrived smashed up, I don't know what will happen with the cake.
It would just be a mush, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I suppose we better do it. No one wants to, but we got to. We got to go
inside Chief's mind. Ah!
Everyone sit down, please. And you in the back, sit down. Hillbilly Harper, sit down. It's a first. It's a first on Talking Joe. There's absolutely nothing that has made it to the level
Brilliant.
of off this week. Never thought it would happen.
Not even that. Not even that call. Not even that.
39 weeks it took. 39 weeks. That's a man. I'm a man who's been pissed off for 38 weeks. Try living in my shoes. It's not good. But I'm having a week off. Even that call. That was whatever. Don't mind. I was reading comics basically anyway. So I hope they didn't need me to do anything. I was reading. What was I reading? The latest Bendis Superman and action comics. I read some old Legion of Monsters stuff. Anyway, that's beside the point. I think it's possible that I'm too tired to actually realise that there are things bugging me. There's probably a million things bugging me, but for this week off. Hallelujah, everyone. Yeah, good times in Castle Chief. Yeah. Sorry, get some of that.
Gonna leave that in your life. That's staying in.
Yeah, I am excited this week to talk about these comics. So let's go to Comic Talk.
Comic Talk, oh, Comic Talk. Larry Hammer writes them, Chief and Chris discuss them, whoa. Comic Talk, oh, Comic Talk. Larry Hammer writes them, Chief and Chris discuss them, whoa.
Yes, so this week it is 108 to 111 of Real American Hero. Next week we'll be doing the other 4 parts of this kind of 8 encapsulating issues of this Trucial Abysmia storyline, and obviously big ramifications for the Joe team. So let's have a look at the covers. 108. This is Snake Eyes. He's got Cobra Commander in a chin lock, a rear naked choke looks like, and stay back, he'd kill me in a second.
And the Night Creepers looking on as well.
A couple of Night Creepers in the front there, yeah.
It's okay, it's nice, it's fun, it's dramatic, it's crazy, guns, that'll do.
We've got a Lee Weeks cover there. 109, Casualties of War. And I do like the composition of this cover.
Yeah, it's cute.
But I'm not a big fan of this body count 7 and climbing, because the 7 occurs in this issue.
Yeah, it's like spoiling it massively, isn't it? Yeah.
So that should have appeared on the front of the next issue. But anyway, Cobra Commander looking over the Joes. I think that's another Lee Weeks one. 110 is your main man escalated to Armageddon. It's the Saw Viper, and he's standing over a pile of bodies.
Yeah, pretty dark.
Brutal. Pretty dark, kind of it's Ron Garney on that one actually, but a good image.
It's
and
pretty
111. Cool. This is the Ninja Team. They're actually referred to in this issue as the Ninja Team for the first time, and they're all jumping out of a chopper going into battle.
Although it wasn't Ninja Force, was it?
It wasn't Ninja Force. They referenced them as the Ninja Team, but I think that's maybe just some guys calling it. So who's in? Just out of interest, who's in that team? Storm Shadow, Snake Eyes, Scarlet, Jinx. Just those 4, is it?
Yes.
Let's firstly look at this. The reference point to cover of 108, which is Snake Eyes and Cobra Commander, because this plays a big role. That kind of image and what happens out of that plays a big role in this storyline. So Snake Eyes is him and Scarlet have been reunited, or he's trying to find Scarlet, and as it turns out, they go down to his his kind of secret hidden base, don't they?
Yes.
In where he's got some, there's like a steam room or saunas or something. He's got a secret back passage. Hey, the back passage, and he finds Scarlet tending to Storm Shadow because, if we recall, she stuck a knife in Storm Shadow's back. And nice little bit here where we see his collection of spike knuckle trench knives.
Very cool.
And this leads to him going to the Cobra Consulate because when Stalker and Storm Shadow tussle with those night creepers, there was a bit of clothing got left behind and it has dust on it, and Stalker's able to analyse this dust by eye and notice that this could only have come from the Cobra Consulate building.
Yeah, a bit contrived, that.
Which leads Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes and Stalker, because he needs to explain to Cobra Commander Snake Eyes his motive. They both go to the Cobra Consulate, and Snake Eyes, as Stalker explains, wants Cobra Commander to leave New York City or the US and go back to Cobra Island.
Go back to where you came from, you foreign... Oh, hang on, wait.
Yeah. Now, this is a little bit... I'm not sure what I feel about this, because Snake Eyes, why didn't he just... We've seen him before when he's, in a mindset, he's willing to go and just, kill some Cobra lackeys and people. What was his... It feels a bit like, playground stuff. Oh, slap on the wrist, Cobra Commander, off you go.
Yeah.
Or take him into custody, or do... I mean, okay, they're saying, it's, protected ground, the Cobra Consulate, whatever. What's the word I'm looking for? Don't know.
Yeah, it's like diplomatic
immunity. Yes, yeah. What's that line from a movie? Diplomatic immunity. I think it's Lethal Weapon 2.
Diplomatic immunity.
Just been revoked.
Yeah.
Where one of the South African dudes shouts diplomatic immunity and Riggs shoots him in the head. I don't know why I've made him Austrian. But,
diplomatic immunity, son of a...
I think it's Lethal Weapon 2. Anyway, was that just put in there to be that focal point of the rest of the story?
I think that the situation you've got here is that you're always going to find it difficult to have good guys versus bad guys and nobody ever like getting killed or dying or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, how do you do it? How do you balance it? So Larry's done this amazing thing where he has made Cobra like a legitimate, in the eyes of the world, a kind of legitimate thing, like a legitimate business or a legitimate state. So even though Cobra are on everyone's, radar as a terrorist organization, they're still getting away with all this stuff, much like in the real world, where you've got a lot of certain states that are, funding and, if not leading the way in certain bad things, they still get away with it. And the only way to do that is to have these little moments, in situations. And I feel like in reality, like Snake Eyes could have just killed every single Cobra trooper, hierarchy member. You'd have killed Cobra Commander and everything would have been sorted in minutes. But unfortunately, they've got to keep this going. So obviously, this is where you get these little moments where you kind of think, well, that probably wouldn't happen. And that's what I think is going on here. And it's like, you kind of, after a while, you kind of get a bit bored of Snake Eyes getting Cobra Commander. And it's like, I can get you any time. Then do it. Then get him at any time and kill him and end this bloody facade. But that never happens.
Yeah. Just a quick shout out. This might be Mark Bright's last issue. I'm not sure. But anyway, Mark Bright's on pencils, Randy Emmeline's on inks, Rick Parker's on letters, and Bob Shireen's on colours. And then for I think the next 3 issues, we get new artist John Statemar or Statimar. I'm not sure how you pronounce
maybe?
it. Statimar. I'm not sure of what else he's done. I know he did some Malibu books when Malibu kind of they were maybe a sub-line of Marvel. Marvel maybe bought them and they did some superhero stuff in the early 90s as a kind of rival to Image. But I know he did some books there, but not otherwise familiar with him. He's got Tom Dzon on inks with Randy Emberlin, Rick Parker still on letters, and possibly colours as well. But yeah, so the conclusion of that is Cobra Commander is going back to Cobra Island, and he, in his own head, is thinking, right, I want to keep a low profile for a while. Let's do stuff that's not going to draw the Joe's attention, which is kind of silly because whatever Cobra does, it's going to draw the Joe's attention.
Well, especially considering his thing is to invade benzene. It's like How's that staying under the radar?
And he's just invaded Millville, a few months earlier. But anyway, he's like, keep it under the radar. And there's a big kind of miscommunication, if you will, later on with the Crimson Twins that messes everything up for him.
Meanwhile, in Trucial Abysmia,
yeah, there's a good bit I like here, and that leads to Snake Eyes finding Storm Shadow, finding where he's gone. Stalker, they're in the hospital, I think, and Stalker's talking to Snake Eyes, and tell him, Fuzzy, they've managed to get this homeless guy called Fuzzy from the subway station, just brought him into the hospital as like an eyewitness. My bottle broke, and them two, the pretty lady and the weirdo in pyjamas, fell under the train and disappeared. Brilliant. Well done for bringing the homeless guy into the hospital just for that little bit, but quite like that. Yeah, meanwhile, in Trucial Abysmia.
Yeah.
That's it, yeah. Which is somewhere in the Middle East. The Joes are they here, as always, on some kind of advisory capacity, as they always seem to be in all
they're
these...
they're attacking terradromes. They're specifically there to mess up Cobra's terradrome setup.
Right, yes.
That's the mission. That's their mission, is a hit and run job without hit and run, to go in, take out the terradromes and move on. And, with no need for extraction, because... Yeah. They just thought it was a regular mission, a very kind of in and out job, and unfortunately, Cobra kind of made contingencies for that for that possible attack, and have set up ambushes pretty much at every escape route, and that's where the Joes basically fall foul to this kind of very poor planning, shall we say?
Yeah, and they get kind of captured early on, and this is where the first sense of wait a minute. Because the Joes have never really been captured. I guess they have been captured by Cobra before, but never kind of to this extent, or we've not seen it. And I wonder if, the writing was on the wall in this issue, because you see a lot of the guys who have been captured, and it's guys that we have not seen for a long time. And you got Thunder in there. I mean, has he even been in more than like 4 pages of the comic ever?
No, I mean, they really...
Crankcase, Heavy Metal, even Doc is a big favourite of mine, and he featured heavily early, but we haven't seen him for years. And so maybe there was foreboding there of these guys are going to get it.
Yeah, they were surplus to requirements characters that had replacements already kind of in the comic and in the toy line.
It must be weird being one of Tomax or Xamot, because even when Duke spits in one of the guy's eyes, the other guy feels it.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how they live their lives on probably lots of drugs and stuff.
Tomax, are you eating again?
Yeah, just to keep them sane. I've come up to a page here. Quick break in the show. I might do a little vocal jingle if I get time. We'll find out later. If you listen to this and there's no vocal jingle, I have not had time. This is a NFL Pro collector set books. So it was like trading cards, but they were actually mini, size of trading cards, but mini 8-page books of pictures, stats, and personal information. I never actually saw these live in the flesh. So this is 1990. I'll see if you can name a few of these guys on here. So this is 1990. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 quarterbacks here.
Right. Okay.
From 1990.
Marino?
One is from a team that doesn't exist, or it does exist, but in a different city.
Oh, okay. So they've changed their franchise.
Yeah, he was a quarter. I think he played in the CFL and then the Canadian Football League. Then he came into the NFL.
Oh, Warner?
No, that's a good shout though, Kurt Warner. This guy, he... Okay, they do have a team in the league, but it's not this franchise. This franchise moved somewhere else.
Right.
And then another team came up in this location, an expansion team.
Right.
In the same city, but it's not the original team.
Okay.
I think the original team moved to Tennessee.
Oh, okay. So it's the Houston Oilers.
Ah, there you go. Yeah.
I don't know I have no idea who the QB was for the Houston Oilers.
Very athletic guy, Warren Moon.
Oh, Warren Moon.
Yeah, you could have got that, I think.
Well, didn't he eventually, or did he play for the Vikings at some point?
I think he did play for the Vikings. Yeah.
If you'd have said Vikings, I think Warren Moon would have been.
Well, the next quarterback finished his career at the Vikings, I think. I could be wrong, but made his name for another NFC team. He was another scrambling quarterback. I think he led the league for most touchdowns by a quarterback, most yards by a quarterback for a long time.
90?
in 1990. He played in the NFC East for this team, and then he went to the Vikings to finish his career, I think. I'm going to tell you. Shall I tell you?
Yeah, go on then.
Randall Cunningham.
Oh, that's actually that. Yeah, I feel really bad for not getting that.
That was gettable. Then you got two AFC guys. One won 2 Super Bowls after having lost 1 or 2 in the final, I think.
Aikman?
Nope, this is the AFC West team. He's now the something in the head. He's now in the office for this team.
Oh, okay. Hang on. Not. No, I can't think of anyone.
He was a bit of a scrambling quarterback. He had a massive cannon for an arm.
Montana?
No, wall number 7. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it.
It's not Favre.
No.
Oh no, forget it. I haven't got a clue.
John Elway.
Elway, why is he the only one I didn't say?
I know. This is your
I love Elway as well.
All right, you got another one here. He is now a commentator. He played in the AFC North. He also wore number 7, in fact. His first name is... It's not really... It's a stupid name. Apologies for anyone else called that. It's... no, that's not even a good clue. That's a terrible clue.
It's not Brett Favre, is it?
No, his initials are B.E. His first name is the sound like a big cannon makes.
Boom.
With it. Yeah. There's something else. Add a couple of letters onto the end of that.
Boomer.
Yes.
Boomer. Oh, he's got a really weird surname, hasn't he? Like,
yeah.
I want to say something like liaison, but it's not. It's Boomer Ezai. No.
Yeah. Go on. Go on.
Esiason.
Yeah, there you go. Boomer Esiason. Well done. Yes.
I haven't heard that name in...
Right, there's some running backs there,
years.
but that was some running backs there as well, but that was quite hard work. So let's move on to talking about G.I. Joe.
Okay.
And at the end, actually, just before we jump back into the war in the Abysmia, at the end of issue 108, the kid that got saved in Barovia gets taken to Wade Collins' place, and everyone lives happily ever after.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, fine, whatever.
She probably becomes... I'm pretty sure she becomes a ninja soon as well.
I would imagine so, yeah. Yeah. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty then.
You're listening to the boy from the big bad city. This is Jam Hot.
So we're into issue 109 now, and then Cross Country's popped up. We haven't seen him for a long time. He's another one of those guys that we think the writing's on the wall for. And this is where we get the miscommunication, because the twins get a televiper to phone up Cobra Commander. And they say, we got these Joe prisoners, what are we going to do with them? Cobra Commander says, are you crazy? Get rid of them immediately. And obviously they interpret that to mean, let's bust a cap in their ass. Yeah. And Cobra Commander means, of course, I need them to let them go because I don't want Snake Eyes on my case.
Yeah.
Or the entire Joe team for that matter. And so this is a bit that then I don't understand, because... why are the Crimson Twins very hesitant to just have these Joes killed, and they bumble around over it by not actually spelling it out? Because they actually say to a couple of Vipers, we would like you to go to the ravine and see to the prisoners. And he's like, huh? Take care of them. And the guy goes, feed them? No, just go over there and do what has to be done. I don't understand. You're going to have to be more specific. Could we have this in writing?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
It's that thing, again, we're kind of stuck with. For probably the entire run of comics we've had so far, all you've heard are these guys wishing death upon G.I. Joe and wanting them to be destroyed and killed and out of the picture and out of the way. And then as soon as the opportunity arises to do that, it's this weird thing of like this kind of cowardly thing comes into it. But it's surely... the cowardly thing is to actually kill them all off and carry on. That seems to be the thing that you'd expect them to do. And yeah, I do agree with you. I find this all very... It probably would have been a lot easier and a lot more believable if they'd have just died in combat. Just like,
yeah,
they're out there fighting and the Saw Viper takes them out because... there's something else happens, but this to me is a very weak way of killing off a bunch of.
It's a shame because, especially on that page where all that happens, there's a lovely panel kind of right in the middle, and it'd been nice if that was just extended to a whole page where the whole of the Cobra troops and army is kind of been dispatched. And I
Yeah.
kind of would have liked to have seen that as a 1 or even a 2-page splash, because the art here by
It's amazing, yeah.
Statemar it's a little bit different than what we've seen, maybe a bit more detailed, but
A bit more 90s going on here as well. It's
bit more 90s.
Do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Eon Flux, that
Okay.
animation on MTV. It's like very much that kind of style.
It's good stuff here. It's a bit more gritty, isn't it? And then, here pops up the Saw Viper. He said, he's kind of a badass, and he's going to get the job done for these Crimson Twins, and he was going to get some extra pay for it. And then straight away, it kicks off because the guys, the Joes are in the ravine. Thunder and someone else, Crankcase maybe, gives Doc a boost up so he can look over the edge. And right in front of him is a Saw Viper with an M60 or whatever he's got.
Saw. It's a Saw.
It's a Saw. Of course it is, yeah. He's a Saw Viper. And basically shoots Doc right in the face.
Absolutely destroys him, yeah.
And then on the next page, he's just mowing him down. And there's like, touching, the way your buddies, the way some of you shield your buddies with your bodies. And they're just getting mown down. It's bad times.
Brutal,
for Joes.
yeah. And you can see all of like the back of Crankcase all like getting destroyed, like all like ripped up.
Yeah.
Thunder's taking a huge amount.
Quick Kick gets the weapon and mows some people down. And what I've noticed here in these issues is a lot of crying going on.
Yeah.
First we see Quick Kick crying here, and then later on you see Cross Country, streams of tears coming down his face.
And then and when we get right to the end of it, Duke is even in bits, isn't he?
Yep. But yeah, shame to see a few of these. Do we get a name? Let's get a name check on who's bit the dust here.
Doc, Crankcase, Crazy Legs, and Thunder so far.
Oh, and then a couple more go a bit later on, do they?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it said 7 and rising.
No, there's the more die later on in the issue, yeah.
Okay, yeah. But from the Saw Viper again, is it?
I've got this weird thing on the app where it doubles up. The final page is the same, like you get like 2 of the same pages, and it misses out one of the other pages. And it appears to me that Breaker, Quick Kick, and
they die as well, don't they?
Yeah, they get it after the fact. And then it's just Cross Country, Falcon, and Duke that are left.
Yep.
So it's basically just those 3 that are left after the rest of them.
Oh yeah.
They've asked for an extraction too, and obviously that has, it's basically we didn't expect to be extracting you because it was a simple mission. So kind of Hawk has to think on his feet, and he ends up getting a shuttle launch ready in record time, so they can get the Defiant up the Crusader up there, and then once that's up there, they get in position above Trucial Abysmia, and they basically drop the battle bunker in with Rock and Roll, Wildcard, and Clutch, I think it is.
Right. This is kind of standardized G.I. Joe, where time actually means nothing. Because this is all happening very quickly, and this shuttle, like you say, does launch, and they drop this mobile command center, don't they?
Well, it's the battle bunker, I think it's called.
The battle bunker, sorry, yeah. But then later on, when they're at the end of the issue, I think we're going to close out with maybe where the Joes launch all their attack in. They say we'll be there in 3 days. So that kind of flies in the face of everything else we've seen, which happens immediately. But I've just seen actually this is the Rage. That's that vehicle that I'm not really familiar with. This Rage thing gets blown up. That's I think where the other guys die, because Falcon says get the others out, Breaker and Quick Kick, and Cross Country's there ain't no others, Lieutenant Falcon, because they all got blown up in this Rage.
Yeah. So does that happen off panel? Because I think I'm missing a page.
It happens on panel.
Okay.
I've got a page here where this shuttle's coming down.
Let me just see if I can line that up with yours, just to see if I am missing anything. There's a panel in the top left-hand corner. It says "In the Desert," and you've got why is he topless, by the way?
Yeah.
But you got Duke kind of basically naked.
Yeah, I got that page.
And then Thum, Womp, Ratatat, Blam. Just get me within range, and I'll waste him. Says the Saw Viper. Yada yada yada. Dial tone, etc. etc.
What's your next page?
The next page is them basically pulling Falcon away.
Yeah, you are missing a page, so I'm going to explain it to you. I'm going to call it out to you. So, for 3 panels along the top, it says above, and then as this battle bunker inside its kind of pod is coming down. Will you shut him up? That screaming is getting on my nerves. Tell me, is it all most over yet? Over? This worst part is just beginning. And then it looks like there's 1, 2. Oh no, it's a not a greatly drawn panel because it's supposed to be showing some of the like Wildcard and everyone falling around. It's got them moving, so they're kind of ghost images of themselves as they're kind of falling. It doesn't look great. There's a middle panel here in the desert. Kathoom! As the rage blows up. That's the one where they bite the dust.
Yes.
And 2 panels at the bottom. Duke, we've got to get the lieutenant out of the wreckage afore she blows, not before. Afore she blows. That's cross country.
Got you.
And then Duke, who is, again, topless, but he has got a strap over his shoulder.
Over his shoulder.
I'm right with you, cross country. And then the last panel is the 2 of them are pulling Lieutenant Falcon. What happened? Direct hit on the rage, sir. We got thrown clear by the blast.
Okay, cool.
Onto the page
that makes more sense then, because I was looking at it thinking,
cross country's crying. Yeah.
I was thinking, oh man, like it must have been like off panel that happened. But then when I saw the fact that there were 2 of the same page at the end, it was the battle bunker coming down in this escalator to Armageddon. Then I thought, oh okay, then I've just it definitely missed a page out. Anyway, moving on.
Back cover. Now, inside front cover for the next issue, I've got a advert for Lucky Charms. I've got...
Amazing.
Catch Lucky. He's got Lucky Charms. They're magically delicious.
I'll make a magic rope and swing away with me Lucky Charms. The crunchy old cereal with marshmallow surprises. Pink hearts, yellow moons, orange stars, green clovers, and blue diamonds. Must be delicious. Thanks.
Where are your Lucky Charms?
Right here, my friends. They're part of this good, nutritious breakfast.
Frosted Lucky Charms.
They're magically delicious. They're magically delicious.
I've got 8 shapes here. Can you name the 8 Lucky Charm shapes?
God, I don't think I've ever noticed them. A leprechaun?
No.
A rainbow?
No.
A treasure chest?
No.
A ring of some sort?
No. Shall I put you out of your misery?
I have no idea what they are.
A question mark, a heart, a horseshoe, a 4-leaf clover, a 6-pointed star, a diamond, a moon, and something that I'm sure it's not, but it looks like a fish.
Yeah, I've never even bothered looking at what the Lucky Charms things were.
Anyway, moving on. There was a bit actually earlier in the storyline where the Crimson Twins are saying something like, you know what the real plan is, and they were there, they were blowing up the Joes, whatever, and I was thinking at the time, what was the actual real plan? And was the real plan simply just to take over the oil? Or is that something that was just put in and forgotten about?
I'm confused. They're just invading benzene for oil, aren't they? Because it's
but there is a bit. There is a bit. I'm going to try and find it now, or maybe not. Where they mention they trap the Joes.
Wasn't the plan that the Joes think is going on? They're setting up terradromes. Is that wasn't that the fake plan?
Right, the fake plan is they're setting up terradromes. The real plan is they're going to invade and get the oil. Right, got it.
Yeah.
Okay. This is where, in this issue, the Cobra Commander finds out that the twins have actually had these prisoners killed and not let go. He's like, excellent, I hope you escorted them to a nice neutral border and let them go. We certainly don't want them embroiled in this little incursion, especially not with a personal grudge. Gulp, let them go. And there's a scene here, it's a little bit sexist, I guess.
Oh, yeah, with the random female.
Of the random females in tight lycra and heavy cleavage pushing around bits on the map, so to speak.
Yeah, it's really weird that. But then again, this is indicative of like the 90s art, isn't it? And you can tell there's been a change in artist in a sense, can't you?
Yeah, exactly. And it's the Emir, isn't it? His Highness.
Yeah.
He has been. Well, he's trying to evacuate before the guys come in the city, and we can see a couple of new vehicles here that I haven't seen before, as well as the Rage, which I wasn't aware of. You get piranhas and hammerheads.
Yeah, they were like 90s vehicles. Popped up a lot in the Deke cartoon as well.
Okay. I mean, I don't really get a good look at them in the comics, but they look. The hammerhead looks quite cool. Is the hammerhead the big kind of grey and green one?
Yeah. The piranhas are the smaller little crafts.
Okay, all right. Just like sort of fast attack boats or something.
Yeah. Like the devilfish.
Right, got it. Yeah, Cobra Commander's absolutely beside himself here when he finds out that 7 G.I. Joes have been shot. And the Saw Viper, I guess he's almost like a big bad supervillain, isn't he? Because he's
Yeah.
trooper who's been given loads of storyline, loads of personality. He's an absolute scumbag. He's supposed to be hard as nails, just an absolute sadist. He wants to kind of brutalise and murderize and terrorise all these Joes, into the point of walking the bullets up to them rather than shooting them straight on. And I guess that gives him a bit of gravitas, a bit of kind of...
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of John Wickish in a way, because there's a scene where Duke's saying, "He's mine, you hear me? He's mine," or something like that. You're basically telling Falcon and Cross Country, "You don't lay a hand on him, I'm taking this scumbag down."
Totally, yeah.
But Duke, as what John Wick wouldn't do, is Duke actually lets him get away, because they trap him, and then he hasn't got a gun, and he's taunting him, saying, "You ain't going to shoot me because I ain't got a gun. Plus, you're in Trucial, Abysmia illegally, so you better jogon.com."
/
Yeah, and he's just laughing even more, making him even more of a villain. And so, do you think Duke should have gone full on John Wick on him there or not?
I think Duke's fighting his inner Boy Scout in a way, isn't he? Like he wants to always do the right thing, but the revenge is strong right now. But again, he's almost fighting that, and probably what makes him Duke in a sense.
Yeah, nice touch there, having Roadblock with an eye patch on, because obviously we know he had some eye troubles in that last storyline.
Yeah,
nice little touch. And then this is where we get the ninja team. They want to get them in as a recon team, because they're kind of sneaky, whatever. And so they fly in some choppers as a kind of distraction, drop them off, and then deliver the package, if you will, so they can go off and do their stuff. Actually, there's a page here I'm looking on in the next issue. Lady J's got a dangly earring. Have you seen that one?
Yep.
Not sure.
They really it's quite funny how they make a point to really sexualise Lady J at one point in, I think, the last issue we look at today.
Oh, yeah.
Where she's kind of like, it's so hot in the desert, and she's like pulling her like unbuttoning her top, and I'm just thinking like, there's really no need for that at all. It's like so out of place and weird.
Quick question for you here. Early on, this is page 4 of the last issue, and Cobra Commander's done a U-turn here. But the twins have basically said, "Nothing to do with us. This was the Saw Viper." They're trying to defend themselves to Cobra Commander. He did it all. And then Cobra Commander's like, "Yeah, give this guy a medal."
Yeah, like he switches on it, doesn't he?
Yeah. And on the last panel of that page, who is that Cobra Trooper who's got a massive gun?
Yep.
And there's the text in that panel is, "Tell me all about the shooting, lad. Was it fun?" Which is a bit of a kind of...
Do you know what? That is a very good question. It looks... It's so weird. It's like... It's like Big Boa, because it looks like he's got boxing gloves, but then it's like...
I think they're handles. I think he's putting his hand in something that's attached to the gun, but then it looks like he's got a shark on his back.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, is that like one of the...
I think that he's just been made up. We actually get a new Joe here, don't we? We get Cool Breeze.
Yes.
And he's part of the...
Arrogant...
This is the recon support. So these guys are here to support the ninja team. And who have you got? You got Sneak Peek, Stalker, Cool Breeze, and another couple of other guys. I don't think they're possibly named at this point in the storyline. You can tell something's going to happen with him in the coming issues, because they've given him plenty of dialogue and they've made him kind of this arrogant youngster rookie whose Stalker's got to slap down a little bit. So something is going to happen with him, and it does in the coming issues. And then a new faction introduce themselves, and these are... it wouldn't be a war story in G.I. Joe without some kind of counter-revolutionaries.
Of course.
And these are... Joes think these are the guys who are on their side, but in fact they want to oust Cobra as well as the Emir. So they kind of...
The running dog lackeys thing comes out again.
The running dog lackeys, yep, standard, love all that. And your man, the Emir, all he's interested in is protecting his oil fields. And they will play a big part coming up as well.
Randomly enough, the only one... I noticed, obviously, that shark thing on his back for that character. And there is a shark that comes with the eel version 2 or whatever it is. Yep. But I don't think that's an eel version 2. I find this whole drawing really confusing. I have no idea who that is. So you've got me. Write in and tell us, guys.
Stumps, kind of... We're stumped there, but I think he's just kind of made up. But There you go. This issue is kind of all set-up stuff, and you actually get more sexualisation with the Saw Viper. He's at a bar in downtown Trucial, Abysmia, and he's got a bottle of Dom... It's not Dom Perignon, it's Dom Cobra.
Classic.
He has got a scantily clad lady in his arms. I just lined up them Joes and blew them away like shooting ducks in a barrel.
There's the ducks in a barrel thing again.
Ducks in a barrel. And then through the window, looking down, is the ninja team, who are going to lay some smack down, possibly.
Yeah, Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow have kind of like are looking in that skylight, and Scarlet's like, I know what you're both thinking, but you can forget it. The mission comes first. And yeah, that's where we're left.
And that's where we're left. Let me just see. I'm going to have a flick through some future issues letters pages, see if anything references. Here we go. I'm just going to read it. I don't know what this letter's about, but I'm going to read it. Yo Joes, I just picked up issue 109 and loved it. Since I love Cobra so much, I thought it was great when that Saw Viper blew away all those Joes. As for the falling mobile battle bunker, well, Wildcard is so stupid he deserves to die. Who's next? How about Low Light, Scoop, Long Range, Bazooka and Lifeline? Anybody else is okay with me. Wait a minute. Did I say anybody? No! Don't kill the ninjas, please! I love Storm Shadow and I can't believe Scarlet actually stabbed him and almost killed him. Speaking of ninjas, I can't believe Cobra Commander gave in to Snake Eyes and is going back to Cobra Island. The leader of an organisation like Cobra should have some bodily protection. Anyway, if Cobra Commander does return to Cobra Island, have him clean the place up. Face it, there's a huge freighter sitting in the middle of everything. Before I finish, I'll leave you with one last piece of mind. I love the dossiers. Since I just started collecting the comic, the dossiers fill me in on the Noble Joe history. Well, until Tomax and Xamot become the new Bobby twins, make mine Marvel. That was Nick Johnson, 8 Godwin Street, Rye, New York, 10580. And the reply was, there's one... Oh, yeah, because the dossiers in from issue 108, we've started having, kind of file card dossier pieces with original art and, history stuff, they're quite nice. That's one reason the dossiers were created, Nick, so that you, new readers, wouldn't feel left out in the rain without a camo poncho. As for that freighter, you'll be seeing more of it. There you go. That was a
interesting
little piece on that. So, looking forward to the next issues next time, because I'm not sure if I'm digging the scene here with this storyline so far. We've got some great art.
Just depressed me.
Every now and again, I like to see a nice big battle. We had Cobra Civil War, and we haven't had anything like that for a while. So it's nice to get, more faces involved. But just the whole setup and the bit with the Joes and the Saw Viper, I don't know, feels a bit hackneyed almost. But
it rubbed me the wrong way. But that, at the time, well, not at the time, but the first time I read it, I was kind of like really, because the funny thing is, I'd known about the deaths of these particular Joes for a long period of time. It was like, common knowledge, I suppose, but I'd never read that actual storyline. And when I did, I was kind of a little bit, oh, that's how they go. And like it was weird to see. Like, obviously I know people their friends are getting killed and all that kind of stuff, but like I was surprised at the way that the Joes were handling it in the moment, because you feel like it should have been like, we have to just try and save ourselves, get the out of here, and then afterwards we can mourn and all that kind of stuff. So it was interesting to see them like breaking down, like actually in the middle of the situation. Yeah, and also it's funny, like the way that all the characters are drawn in these issues really are indicative of the 90s. Like, Quick Kick looks like someone out of he looks like Casey Jones out of some of the Turtles issues from that era. Everything looks like, it was like the Liefeld kind of era, doesn't it? Like everything looks in that kind of stylistic kind of way. So yeah, I'm the same. I wasn't a massive fan of the whole thing, but we get like we're like a big supervillain out of the Saw Viper, which is not often that we get a trooper coming to the forefront. I say that, but then we've had Fred, and we've had there's a Cobra Trooper as well, isn't there, that kind of had a big storyline. But other than that, it's very rare that happens. Yep.
Well, we're going to read it the next 4 issues next week, and then we'll give the loyal listeners our verdict on the overall storyline. But as we always do, following Comic Talk, it's time for Chris Talks Toys.
Chris talks about toys, ho ho. Chris talks about G.I. Joe. He talks about all the things from the comic book and the animated show. Chris talks about toys. Chris talks about toys. Chris talks about toys. Chris talks about toys.
Boopy doopy whoop boop. Right, this time, I wanted to honour the fallen in this issue. So I've picked one of the characters that does bite the dust, unfortunately. And actually came with an amazing vehicle that was like one of my absolute loves as a kid, and that is Crankcase and the Ore Striker, or the AWE Striker, or the All-Weather and Environment Striker.
Catching Cobra's really tough, you know, and Cobra's up to something that with G.I. Joe.
Cobra! Cobra blew up the bridge. The Ore Striker will catch him.
Introducing the new Joes.
We're gonna stop Cobra this time.
G.I. Joe!
After him! Joe!
So in the US it came out in 1985, and in the UK it came out in 1987. Basically this little kind of box set was just incredible, and I say that because obviously you get a figure with it too. Crankcase I found was like full of character, really, he looked like a basic driver, but at the same time he had a removable helmet, he had a lot of personality in his head sculpt. Again, like a design that you don't necessarily see a lot of, and even though he was generally quite basic in his design, there was a lot to kind of like be interested in just as the figure alone. He also came with a really awesome rifle as well. It's like, I'm not sure if it's the FN FAL or not. The actual rifle that it copies is basically, it's looks like the R2 Para from South Africa Rhodesia in 1960, the FN Fusil Automatique Légère. So I think it's basically that one, because it's got that kind of, the stock is kind of all scaffold as opposed to a solid stock. But it's a really cool rifle that he comes with. And like I said, a removable helmet, and he looked really cool. He looked like an awesome little kind of figure, driver, etc., etc. Now, anyway, he comes with arguably one of my favourite vehicles of all time in the G.I. Joe line. Just without fail, I had so much fun with this particular vehicle as a kid. It was a lower price point, it was a smaller vehicle, but it was just packed to the gills with amazing features. And I'm going to go through the Ore Strikers. Well, I'm going to go through the Ore Strikers list of features that are in the blueprints, but I'm also going to kind of relate it to what it actually is on the toy. So you get an extended space frame roll bar, which is that kind of removable roll bar that kind of connects to the actual body of the vehicle. Fuel filler receptacle, which is on the removable engine cover, which is just amazing. Like on the back, you could take the engine cover off, and you could also take the engine out. So it was just so amazing and full of these cute little touches. Two-way communications antennas, which really gave it, again, a really cool look with those two kind of flexible antennas wobbling around. It's got a 10-round 70mm automatic launcher on the top as well, so it's like this pivoted left and right, up and down launcher. And you could have a figure basically standing on the back of the Ore Striker in between basically on top of the engine cover, and operating that if you wanted to. I mean, I know I did, but basically it's actually an automatic launcher, so you can actually be controlled from the passenger seat in the Ore Striker anyway. So it's not, but I did see a lot of the time there'd also be like a figure holding it like a fake way. It's got quartz halogen headlamps, which obviously didn't work, but had this really cool front bumper with those headlights on the front that really, again, gave it such a cool look. Advanced infrared sighting fire control camera, which again was this little kind of camera which looked a little bit like a laser or like a gun that sits on the passenger side and is connected with a hose that goes onto like a little clip on the side of the roll bar on the top. So it looks like it's going from the cannon to this little camera. It's also got this amazing set of suspension for both the rear and front tyres. So when you press it down, it flexes, and honestly, just that alone was just really cool feature. On top of that, they gave it steering. They gave it front wheel steering. So if you moved Crankcase's steering wheel, there was this amazing mechanism. If you flipped it upside down, you could see this incredible mechanism underneath the wheels at the front that would allow them to connect and pivot, at the same left and right. So it was just a nuts amount of fun. It was just great. On the side of the vehicle, you also had these like platforms where figures with foot pegs as well could kind of be positioned either side, so you could really stack a bunch of figures on it. I mean, you could have I remember having like 2 figures either side, one at the back, possibly even 2 sitting down in like the engine cover side kind of elements, and obviously the passenger and the driver. And another space, which I never really gave much thought to, was the actual front, the hood or the bonnet. So like on the front they would have, I think it was in Worlds Without End, I want to say it was Breaker, who was, or one of the characters was laying on the front of the hood of the Ore Striker, just like with his hands behind his head, just, you know, like transporting them that way. So I just thought that was really fun and cute in that particular episode of the cartoon. And again, the Ore Striker is so much fun, it's not even funny. So basically the US version and the UK versions do differ in minor ways. The box art is basically the same, where you've got Crankcase, Dusty and Gung Ho. Basically you've got Dusty hanging off the side, you've got Gung Ho in the passenger seat, you've got Crankcase driving it. They had the classic G.I. Joe explosion background, and we had the digital explosion background on ours. Like I said, they came out in 85, we came out in 87, so G.I. Joe had changed to the digital explosion by then. So they were just using that for I suppose all of their things worldwide. On the actual box art itself, obviously it's Action Force International Heroes for us, it's G.I. Joe Real American Hero for them, Ore Striker with 4-wheel suspension, and there's no mention of Crankcase as his name on the UK version. There's a window box on both versions and you can see the character, but it's only the Americans that actually put his code name underneath. We didn't actually do that. And the actual vehicle itself obviously has Action Force, they had to change it to Action Force stickers on the actual vehicle, so there is an element of difference in the art, but it's again just awesome. Loved both. I just absolutely love this vehicle. Now, other thing I want to talk about is Crankcase is his file card, because this really is interesting. There are so many differences between the US one and the UK one. I'm going to read the US one and I'm going to supplant the UK elements in as they arrive. So, Ore Striker driver, codename Crankcase, file name Indiana Elwood G. He's got a serial number in the US, he doesn't in the UK. The serial number is 451615102, and he's got grade E4, which also he doesn't have in the UK as well. Primary military specialty, and I've got, obviously we say speciality in the UK as well, we have an extra I in there. Motor vehicle driver, and secondary military specialty, and this is interesting, again, this has come up a few times, armour in the US, artillery in the UK. So it's interesting that that definition is different, pretty much cut across the board for all of the uses of those terms. There are several ways to get from one place to another in Kansas, and driving fast is most of them. Crankcase was racing street machines when he was 16. This was no great feat, since he had been building them from the time he was 13. He worked the stock car circuit for years until the boredom hit him like a brick wall. A recruiting sergeant with a crooked smile signed him up for a burst of 4 with promises of speed and glory. A burst of 4 sounds weird in the US, but the UK changed it to 4-year tour. Crankcase graduated Ranger School and Desert Warfare School, and attended the Special Air Service Tactical Driving School under the NATO Exchange Programme. And programme is spelt differently, obviously, in 2 different places. So you've got programme GRAM for the US and GRAMME for us. Qualified Expert M16, M19, 11A1, M60 and TOW. So that, again, we've had quite a few changes already. This is where we get even more. Ever get irritable when you're standing in a line that just doesn't seem to be moving at all? And obviously line is changed to Q for the UK, which I thought was interesting again there. Well, the whole seems to be moving in slow motion to Crankcase all the time. And instead of the whole, we put the whole world. So that's quite interesting too. That's why he's constantly ticked off in the US, but fed up in the UK. I thought that was an interesting change as well. And then the last one, he's just not happy unless he has a wheel in one hand, a shifter in the other, and the wind in his face. And obviously shifter is changed to gear stick for the UK. So I was like, there are so many differences on this card. And at first glance, it doesn't seem to be. And then you kind of get through it and you're like, oh, wow, they've changed a lot on this. So I've always found that really interesting. Usually, obviously, they would change a lot of things like the names and the birthplaces, especially as early as this came out, which is the first Hasbro Action Force release year in '87 in the UK. So it's interesting that we didn't get a change of name or birthplace there, but still really cool. And again, I absolutely loved this vehicle. Like, it's one of my all-time favourite vehicles. I had so much fun with it as a kid, and yeah, it was one of the first things I had. And in the UK, it was like almost as big as, you know, as Flint was used on all the media, and Quick Kick was used on a lot of the media. The Ore Striker was used loads in the comics, advertising, merchandise. It was one of those vehicles that you saw in everything, and it's to this day one of my favourite ever Joe vehicles. And also, you have to kind of tip your cap to Crankcase, who risked his life and saved a lot of his fellow soldiers in the comics. So shout out to Crankcase and a shout out to the Ore Striker.
That mother's 6 feet under now. Right, good stuff as always. I was a big fan of the Ore Striker, so that's quality. And yeah, I think might have even been one of my top 3 vehicles of all time, G.I. Joe. Good stuff. Now, you'll recall, if you were listening to this very show about an hour, 55 to an hour ago, that Hillbilly Harper, Eric, was asking about over-egging the pudding. So we're not going to over-egg the pudding, but we are going to talk about British colloquialisms, a.k.a. over-egging the pudding.
We got a pudding, we're going to egg it. We got a pudding, we're going to over-egg it. We got a pudding, we got no criticisms. That means it's time for some British colloquialisms.
So we did talk about over-egging the pudding.
I think you over-egged the pudding a little bit on that intro, but that's fine.
I was egging for my life right there. So this week, I was chatting to someone at work. This is a very simple one, and we were talking about meeting up to go out for a drink or something later on. And I said, "Yep, just give me a dog later."
Dog and bone phone.
There you go. I said, "Give me a dog later." AKA, like you just said, AKA dog and bone phone.
Comes around with a Shih Tzu. There you go, mate.
Yeah. Give me a call. Give me a call later. Give me a dog. That's my one. That's it. Job done. What's your one?
My one is one that I didn't even realise I've been using constantly for the like. I could have used this at any point during our over-egging the puddings, but I'm using the term, and I don't know why so often. Donkey's years,
yeah,
and obviously it means over a long period of time. And suggests a donkey's ears, you know, the length of a donkey's ears. So, yeah, a very simple, straightforward one, but it's one I'm using so often. You know, like, I've been doing that for donkey's years, or he's been doing that, they've been doing that for donkey's years, or whatever. Yep. It's come up a lot. And I thought, I noticed the other day, I'm like, wow, I said this again. And I still think Kate has no idea what I'm talking about when I say it. I don't think I've ever explained that one to her.
I'll tell you what it is. It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable, Jeff!
Do you know what I've been using in the episode you haven't heard yet, because we've recorded this before we've even posted the last one.
This is episode 39, and 38 hasn't even gone live yet. So yeah, we are well ahead of schedule.
I finished editing it last night, and I've been dropping in "It's unbelievable, Jeffs" whenever you say that. So it's quite funny.
Good stuff. I do have a question, because it's time for
Chief Ask Chris a question. Chief Ask Chris a question. What'll he say? What'll he do when Chief asks Chris a question?
It's funny because you asked me a question like about 67,000 times in this episode.
All right. I'll change it.
This doesn't feel
Chief
special anymore.
Question. Chief asks Chris another question,
etc. You like a bit of the old exercise, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. An athletic
that was an easy one.
Yeah, job done. Join us next week where Chief has a better question. No, when you're partaking in a bit of athleticism, it's a double parter, this one. It's a double whammy. A, do you stretch? And B, if so, what's the most satisfying stretch for you?
Okay, so I haven't really done like the extreme kind of stuff for a long time. Like I said, I've mentioned on the previous episode, I was a semi-professional basketball player for a period of time in the United Kingdom for a team called the Kings Lynn Fury. We were in the National League, and you know it was a very difficult.
You were a shooting guard.
I was actually. What was I in the end? I was. We played a certain way where we utilised the fast break.
Bench,
so
yeah.
yeah, I got a lot of bench minutes in. So we would basically, there would be two of us that would literally race up the court as soon as a shot went up from the other team. So we would, be basically playing the percentages on that sense. And by doing that, then we'd have like a long pass down the court, and then one or two of us would just be laying it up all the time. So we'd play almost like, I preferred position was shooting guard at 6'4". I still am. I haven't shrunk it yet or anything. And so I'd prefer the shooting guard position. I was obviously a huge fan of Jordan. I was a huge fan of the NBA, and I was just like, I was besotted by it. But in the end, I was probably playing more likely in like a forward position.
Stretches, man. I don't want your basketball history.
So when I was playing semi-pro, stretching was huge. Like, we'd have to do a lot of it. And I think my most satisfying one was the up against the wall, and it was the calf stretch where you put your foot you're like the one you want to stretch extended behind you, and you kind of like put your foot flat to the floor, and then you put your other foot in underneath your chest, kind of bent legged, and then you'd kind of lean against the wall, and you'd stretch your basically your your calf muscles. That would be my most satisfying, because I felt like I was in a comfortable position basically, and I felt like I was actually stretching the muscle. Some of the other stretches, I just didn't feel like I was actually doing any good other than just being uncomfortable. So yeah, that one for me is probably my favourite.
Good stuff.
Don't stretch anymore though. I haven't stretched for ages. I just do light run and that's it. That's all I do now.
Right, yeah, till you collapse. Right, join us next week, everyone, for episode 40. We hit the big 40 of... I'll tell you what, it slipped both our minds. Aren't we due some sort of award show soon?
Well, I ask you that every episode.
Do you?
Well, yeah, I do. Like, I asked you last time that we should do something special for 100, and then it was like, well, we can't because it's not whatever.
All right, okay. Well, we'll put our heads together. We might have some awards. Maybe not. We've got a lot of ground to cover next week. 4 issues. Maybe the one after, if we can maybe squeak just 1 or 2 issues in, then we can have a bit of an awards thing. We'll work it out.
I take it we've hit a year then. We've hit another year.
I think I think we have done. Yeah, we definitely have 2 years. 2 years worth of Joe material.
Okay, cool.
But anyway, that's for us to decide and let you know about. But if you do want to read along, then pick up and read issues 1, 12, 13, 14 and 15 ahead of next week's episode. You can find us in all the usual places. Talking_Joe on Twitter, TalkingJoeComics@gmail.com, Talking Joe Comics on Instagram, and Talking Joe, a G.I. Joe podcast on Facebook. If you want to rate and review us, give us 5 stars and all that kind of jazz, do it on iTunes or wherever, Spotify, Podbean, wherever you listen. Give us some of that. We're much love out to you for that. But if the find people who listen to the show want to get hold of you, how can they do it?
Diagnostic80 on Twitter and Instagram, and of course the Full Force podcast on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, YouTube, Patreon, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere.
I am starting to crash big time. So what I need to do is go and ice that almond, orange and courgette cake, and then probably eat half of it with a cup of tea. That sounds quite nice. And I did post some pictures on Twitter. I tried making a spinach and spring green cannelloni, and it was looking really great. You saw the pictures, didn't you?
Yeah, this should have been in your mind.
This should have been... damn it! I want to go back in time. Let's re-record the whole episode again so I can put this in. I had wilted down all this spinach with some garlic and chilli and spring greens, put it in a blender. I was going to spoon it into these cannelloni tubes, but that's hard work with a spoon, so I was going to get a piping bag, chop the end off and squeeze it in. Hey. And... but because my missus, with no plastic in the house anymore, there was no plastic bag to put it in, so I had a paper bag, like a greengrocer's paper bag, put it all in there. But of course, because the mixture was still hot, when I picked the bag up, the seam along the bottom split and it went all over the side, down the washing machine, on the floor, and there's my spinach and spring green cannelloni.
That's so sad.
I managed to rectify the situation because I am great. I managed to, in the freezer, I had some corn mince, as in corn, Q-U-O-R-N, mince, and a can of butter beans, and I fried those up and then shoved those into the cannellonis, and it was actually really tasty. But then cleaning up all that green gunk from all over the side of the floor, and the washing machine wasn't fun. But there you go. There's a bonus inside Chief's mind. So I didn't go a week without something going wrong. So chalk it up. That's 39 weeks in a row where something f***ed me off. Done. I'm happy now. I'm happy, and I'm sad that at the beginning of the show there was nothing in my mind. Now I've reminded myself that I'm annoyed. So yeah.
There you go.
Time for me to go and lie down. It's been a good week. We will catch you down the road.
Bye. I'll stop now.